Hello and welcome. So far in this series we've only discussed fixed-wing aircraft. That changes today. Today we take a look at helicopters in DCS. In this video we're going to go over why you might prefer flying helicopters over jets in DCS and what roles those helicopters fulfill within the game. So to start we need to take a look at what a helicopter is. There are two very obvious things about a helicopter. One is that it has an upward facing rotor blade, and two, they hover. Conventionally these aircraft have tail rotors, however that's not always the case, with some modern designs having either no second rotor or a contra-rotating second rotor above the main rotor disc. In either case, these second rotors are controlled by the pedals of the helicopter, in a traditional aircraft called anti-torque pedals. This controls the yaw rate of the aircraft. They're basically used to keep the helicopter's nose pointed where you want it pointed. Now that we know what a helicopter is, we can talk about the roles that they fulfill in DCS. Every helicopter in DCS can be fitted into one of the three categories: transport, scout, and attack. You will find that most helicopters are capable of performing more than one of these roles, however they're usually less good at their secondary role than their primary role. I will eventually put out a video on every helicopter available to us in DCS and where they land in that Venn diagram of attack, scout and transport. We'll start with transport helicopters and what their role is within DCS. This is possibly the most obvious category. You're simply transporting goods or troops from one place to another. That doesn't mean that this isn't a fun or important role to play, especially on servers that require resource usage. It also doesn't mean that every mission you do is the same. Transport helicopters can be used for a variety of missions, from delivering cargo from one base to another, to picking up troops and delivering them in combat, and even search and rescue. Next up is the attack helicopter. These are the most lethal of the bunch. These will carry a large payload, usually consisting of a gun, rockets, and anti-tank guided missiles. Occasionally they will also carry air-to-air missiles, and in the Soviet case, sometimes even bombs. They will usually have good sensors and some form of armour. The job of these helicopters is, as the name suggests, to attack the enemy. They are best used either targeting large groups of enemy vehicles or in close support of friendly troops. The last role we have is the scout helicopter. These helicopters will be light and manoeuvrable. They won't be as powerful as the attack helicopters or have the armour, nor the armament. Although they can be played as small, lightly armed attack helicopters, that's not where a scout helicopter shines. These helicopters really excel when in use with friendlies. The radio and laser designators are the best friends of these scout helicopters. Your job as a scout pilot is to find the enemy and relay that information and guide on the larger attack helicopters or attack planes, and then if they need a use your laser to guide that munition. Scout helicopters are the supporting players in DCS. They're not the main person delivering the ordnance, but they play a key role in helping get the victory. So at this point we know what a helicopter is and what jobs it does on the battlefield. So the next question is, why do you want to fly a helicopter over a fixed-wing aircraft? First up, helicopters are more challenging to fly and they require you to be flying constantly. It's not like a plane where you can let the autopilot do all of the work and you focus on the systems. Even in the more advanced helicopters like the Apache, which does have some autopilot functions, you are still piloting that aircraft the entire time. Next up, as of recording of this video, helicopters are your only transport options in DCS. That is until the C-130 enters the game at some point. And even then, a helicopter's ability to take off and land wherever it chooses is going to mean it's more flexible than the larger C-130. Another thing is that you are much closer to the action with a helicopter. Sometimes when you're flying a plane and you're at 30,000 feet and you're engaging from 50 or 60 miles away, it feels very impersonal. Whereas with a helicopter, you're going to be close to the combat, and this can be a bit more exciting. This leads me on to my next point. If you want to do close air support, there is no platform better than the attack helicopter. You can argue the A-10, but you'd be wrong. This leads me on to the negatives. First off, you are very slow. You're not going to be breaking 150 knots with pretty much any helicopter for a sustained amount of time. This also contributes to the fact that your range is not very far when compared to a fixed-wing aircraft. Your flight time might be the same, but the distance that you cover in that time just cannot compare. Next up, if your team do not have air superiority, you do not have very many options. Yes, some helicopters carry short-range air-to-air missiles, but compared to what the jets carry, it's no competition. They'll have you out of the sky, no problem. And it doesn't help that DCS's AI is godlike in its ability to see, shall we say. My last point on negatives is probably the biggest one. You have to have rudder pedals if you want to fly helicopters. This is something that you simply don't need necessarily with jets, because you don't use the rudder anywhere near as much as you do the anti-torque pedals. While yes, technically you can get away with a twist stick, I wouldn't recommend it. Your wrist is going to be very sore by the end of a long session. Well, that's my 2 cents on helicopters in DCS, what they do, and whether they might or might not be right for you. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I appreciate if you have. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you disagree with or agree with, and anything I could maybe do better. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching.